Hello, I'm Kevin Valim with KJEM here with Peter Daniel of 45th Street Brass playing a show at John's Alley in Moscow tonight. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
You excited for the show tonight?
Really excited. I love playing John's Alley. It's my fourth time here. It's always a really fun time. Yeah.
So what brings you back?
Well, we're playing at the Hive tomorrow up in Sandpoint. We're opening up for Turquoise. And we've been out there a couple of times, and so I always like to, I want to drive out to Idaho for just one show. So try to put a lot of them together.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
So for people who haven't heard your music before, how would you describe 45th Street Brass?
The term I use is funk soul brass. It's sort of a mix of jazz and New Orleans traditional music, and the instrumentation especially, sousaphone is the bass. But it's got a lot of funk influences, modern influences. I grew up playing jazz, so there's a lot of that in there. And we have some classic soul from Annie, our singer, so it's got a lot of strong soul influences too.
All right. So how did the band form?
Oh, good question. So we're named after a specific bar in Seattle, the Sea Monster Lounge on 45th. And a lot of us met playing, interacting with those groups. And I fell in love with brass music, horn section music, the JBs, the Ohio Players, guys like that. And I wanted to do something like that myself. So I started writing for it and called a bunch of my friends. And we've had some people rotating through, a lot of different faces, an extended family, as I like to think about it. A lot of people like to call. But having a really good time, having all these guys come in. This is a new iteration of the band this past year. I'm really excited to take it on the road.
Right. What are some of the inspirations for the group's music?
I mentioned the JBs. They're the Rebirth Brass Band, and sort of Galactic is what we're playing some songs for them. Sort of a new age New Orleans and hip hop group. Okay. Other guys, there's a band out of New York that used to exist called the Mephi that no one really knows about that I like to give a lot of love to. Because that's the band I heard. It's like, yeah, I want to do that. And they've got the brass influences and the strong section sound with a lot of groove and funk and all of that soul influence. Yeah. Snarky Puppy is an influence as well, things they've been doing. Yeah.
All right. Who's responsible for songwriting and composition, and what's that process like?
That's me. And usually I'm the bari sax player in the band, so a lot of times it starts with a bari sax or bass groove that I get stuck in my head and can't get out. It's like, well, time to do something with it. So I'll sit down and try to come up with a melody. Some of the vocal tunes, Annie and I have sat down together and tried to work on something joint writing. And then all the arrangements too are things I just pretty much lift, but try to orchestrate for our specific setup. And trying to figure out what that means is always interesting. We have two trombones, so not putting them in unison, splitting them up, and that doesn't reflect what's in the original part. So how do I make that work, and how do I make it all make sense and have a good sense of that? But it's really fun writing for such a unique band. And I've been into arranging for a number of years, so it's nice to see my own stuff get played on the stage.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to the first EP that you guys recorded, what was that process like of recording the album, and why did you guys decide to go strictly with horns and kind of that's pretty much it for the EP?
That was something we needed to get something out at that point. We were a band that had some opportunities on the horizon, and we just needed something to give to people. So I took the band at the time was only the four horns, and the goal of the band was always to be this horn section for hire as well. So to have our own original stuff, but then be able to pick up any drummer and play our set, and then go on tour, with another band and be their horn section, which we've done. There's a band out of Reno called Jellybread that we're the touring horn section for, and we've opened up for them a couple of times using their drummer. So that model was really strong in the early days of the band. So when I had these arrangements written for the four horns, it was like, let's just get us all in a room together, turn some mics on and record it. And that's exactly what we did. It was a one-day session, all recorded live with minimal mixing. And it was some of it was to give to other bands that we encountered as well, but to send people something, send the people home with something. Right. Is an important part too. So I was facing some guys that were possibly moving. I just wanted to get the lineup we had in there, and a lot of times that's where a lot of art comes from, is necessity, right? So that's at that time we just needed product and we needed something to advertise with and market with.
Mm-hmm. Was the touring horns thing something at the incarnation of the band? Was that part of the original design?
Yeah, I figured it was going to open up a lot more opportunities for us. Plus, I just like collaborating. I like different influences, and I like a lot of different sounds, and so working with a lot of different people was something I was really excited about. And that's something you see on our new album, too. We have a fuller, fleshed out band. We have drums and vocals, but we have different vocalists. and that's something too. I wrote down these horn arrangements and sent them to the singers, and then they came up with the singing part. So our album is full of a lot of self-driven collaborations as well.
Yeah, you go back to that that first full album.
Right.
What was that process of getting all these other musicians in? Because it was a smaller effort the first time around.
Yeah.
What went into developing that and getting the vocalists, all these different vocalists to come in
Yeah.
and record?
Yeah, I had a number of people in Seattle I really was a fan of and had worked with sometimes, or just heard. A couple of them I'd never worked with before. And I was just a big fan. I kind of sent them this track and said, hey, can you do something with this? And one of them, Eva Walker, I'd never heard what she recorded until she walked into the studio. And laid down her first track, and it was amazing. But I called her because I was a fan of her voice and her style and her, her sound and whatever. As long as she put something into it and didn't show up to the studio just trying to improv it, I knew it was going to be great, and that's what everyone did. They put that time in. So it was a bit of a wrangling everyone down, trying to get the singers lined up, trying to get the band lined up. Originally, it started as just the vocal numbers, and we have videos associated with those, and it was going to be just a YouTube campaign. And then we recorded them and realized they were really, really good. And oh yeah, we need something with this on it that people can take and process and imbibe that isn't a YouTube link, right? We need an album, we need a product. So, we revisited one of the tunes from the EP and put it on there. And then I had a couple others that were floating around in the wings, and we were able to lay them down in just a couple of days. And that was a hectic process, but we were able to come through, on a time schedule, and I really like what we came out with.
Is that something that's still in the cards for the band moving forward, or was that kind of a one-time thing with all the vocalists?
What do you mean?
And bringing in all these other vocalists, is that something that you would do again?
Yeah, I definitely always thought that there would be a round 2 and a round 3, and perpetually throughout the course of the group, just to keep doing these. Other things get in the way. We've got this tour. We've got a pretty busy summer. I've got tours with other bands, so it hasn't gone as quickly as I'd like.
Yeah.
But it is definitely something I still would like to do. Is call some different singers even, and do some different collaborations and see what those lead to. So.
How does that work with all these different collaborations, working with a bunch of different bands to kind of keep your own sound? You're traveling horns for all these different bands.
Sure.
A bunch of different artists coming in to work with you. How do you kind of keep that sound?
Well, there is a lot of what do they need? What type of band are they? What do they want us to do? We don't always bring, we've got the 5 horns in this group. We don't always bring all 5 horns to do someone else's horn section. Sometimes it's just 2 of us. Sometimes it's anywhere in between. But we want to be true to the band we're working with. And really what I'm just trying to do is steal from people. And the best way to steal from everyone is to have them invite you in to their home. Yeah. So I like that the band's influences change. We used to do a lot of different covers when the band started out. It was stuff I was really, really into. And now the covers that we do are stuff that we as a group are sort of into and what we can recreate as opposed to just what I want to recreate. And that evolution, that progression, it's progress in one way, no matter how you look at it, and that's never a bad thing.
Yeah. Would you say you're more akin to live performances or in studio recording?
Live performances. Studio recording is something I've had to get used to. I've been performing since I was in middle school, You don't record until some people record in college, and a lot of people get their really recording start after college. So, and it's a totally different skill set. It's still music, but it's totally, this thing that you lay down, instead of being fleeting and gone, it's now set, and it's going to be analyzed and listened to. So there's different expectations for parts and solos and intonation and all this stuff. So it is a very different approach and mindset, and I'm still much more used to the live recording. But the live performance. But I'm getting used to recording. Yeah. I'm getting used to it.
And where's the band going from here after that first full album last year?
I'd like to record again. I think I'd like to do a couple of singles and maybe do another video or 2 with some new singers that lead us into a new project. It's just such a new album is such a big undertaking, and other people are I don't know, more motivated or maybe better at it than I am, but having to do everything else, the production and the managing and the booking, that's taking a lot of time too. So it's how do you create music in the framework of doing all these other things that a band needs to do to be successful as well. And it's tough to balance it all out. Writing definitely goes by the wayside, but you try to introduce a new tune every couple of months and a schedule for yourself and keep the band interested. You don't want to be playing the same 8 songs for 7 months.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned that the vocal tracks that you recorded for that album, you wanted to put them out on YouTube for that type of campaign.
Actually, yeah.
How important is that to the band to kind of get the word out about it?
Yeah.
A lot of bands can kind of get their start just gaining some sort of following on a site like YouTube.
Right. I had a bass player friend of mine say he didn't want to release any music without some sort of visual component to it. And I think video, because it's much more prevalent, everyone's got a nice camera in their phone. That wasn't even true 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In their pocket, because it's so prevalent, it's becoming more expected. A lot of auditions for festivals and things have you send in videos. So to have something I've spent some time on, we went into a studio for, to have a finished product, has been good to help market the group and to help advertise and introduce us to people that might not have a chance to hear us otherwise. You can release a YouTube video without having to be on the radio, and it's got a little more attention instead of a SoundCloud link, or which most people don't even know what that is. It's an industry thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows YouTube. So that's been definitely part of it. In terms of for me, it's been important to have as just. Again, I feel like it's progress, I feel like it's moving forward. I feel like it's just what's becoming, like vinyl's making a resurgence. Online download sales are down, and I think videos are increasing too. I think it's just what bands are doing now. And you're right, people are making careers off of the video element of it as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, it was great talking with you. Good luck with the show tonight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.